Ashley paid me $100 to work out with her, so a guy would notice her, then told her friends I was the special needs kid she pretended to care about for her college essays. When I asked her if we were still working out together, she walked away laughing. Damien's driving me now. I went quiet. That was 11 months ago. This morning, she left Sony headphones on my porch with a note that said, "They always belong to you." Ashley, the hottest girl in school, cornered me and whispered, "I'll pay you $100 to work out with me for a week." I dropped my Pokemon cards. She was everyone's hallway crush, and I was 300 pounds with high-functioning autism and practically spent my whole life on Discord. Ashley explained that she had this massive crush on Damien. He worked out at the gym every day at 4 p.m. and hadn't noticed her existence. "I need him to see me with someone." "Unexpected," she said, eyeing my Doctor Who shirt. "No offense. It's just that guys like Damien always notice when hot girls hang out with guys like you. But here's the thing about having high-functioning autism. People think you don't notice when they're using you. They're wrong. We notice everything. We just process it differently. And to me, the money made it worth it." "So, when do we start?" I asked. She squeezed my hand, and I forgot how to breathe. "Monday. You're literally saving my life." Her hand brushed mine, grabbing the money back to put in my wallet so I wouldn't lose it. First time a pretty girl had touched me on purpose. Monday, she picked me up in a Jeep that smelled like Japanese cherry blossom from Bath and Body Works. I know because my sister has the same one. At Gold's, Damien was already there. 6 feet 2 inches, sleeves cut off, the kind of guy who probably calls protein powder brotein. Ashley pretended not to see him while guiding me to machines. I couldn't do a single pull-up. My hands slipped. I fell on my ass, hard. Everyone looked. "Oh my God, are you okay?" She knelt beside me, hand on my back, real concern in her voice. "Screw them for staring. You're trying. That's what matters." Damien definitely noticed that. Tuesday, she brought Sony WH-1000XM4 headphones. "For the sensory stuff," she said casually. $300 headphones. For me. During breaks, she asked about my Clash of Clans base. Actually downloaded the app to see it. "Holy cow. You did this yourself?" When I explained how to manage resources effectively, she didn't zone out. She asked questions. Real ones. "Your brain is literally incredible," she whispered, hand on my arm. Damien walked by. She didn't look up. Wednesday fucked with my head, teaching me squats. She stood behind me, hands firm on my waist. "Is touching okay?" I know I should have asked. I nodded, hyper-aware of every point of contact. Made some dumb joke about force vectors and optimal angles. She laughed so hard she snorted. "Gosh, why doesn't anyone know you're hilarious?" Then quieter. Their loss. We shared her quest bar, thighs touching on the bench. She showed me her college essay drafts on her phone. "Everyone thinks I'm too dumb for good schools," she said. "That's because they don't want to believe that you're pretty and smart. It makes them feel worse about themselves." She leaned into me with sparkles in her eyes. "How do you always know exactly what to say?" "I really like this," she said quietly. "Like, more than I expected to." Our hands were inches apart on the center console. I wanted to reach over so badly. On Friday, she wore extra perfume. She kept touching me, adjusting my form, fixing my grip, brushing imaginary lint off my shirt. That's when Damien approached. "Hey, haven't seen you around before." Ashley's entire demeanor shifted. Her smile got brighter, her voice higher. "Oh, hey! I'm Ashley." She forgot to introduce me. I stood there holding dumbbells while they flirted. "Maybe we could work out together sometime," Damien asked. "I'd love that." She was already pulling out her phone. They exchanged numbers while I watched. Damien left with a promise to text. Ashley turned to me glowing. "Oh my gosh, it actually worked. He noticed me." She remembered I existed. "Oh right, here's your money. 520s. Count it out quickly." Her phone buzzed. Damien already. She squealed. I asked if I should find another ride Monday. "What? Oh, Damien's gonna drive me now." She was already walking away. "But can we still work out?" No response. Monday at school, she was wearing Damien's baseball cap. I approached them by her locker. "Hey, about the gym." She looked through me like I was transparent and didn't even respond. I went quiet. "I think I remember you," Damien commented. Ashley quickly joked. "Yeah, I do too. You asked me to help with your form or something." At lunch, I overheard her with her friends. Damien said he noticed me because I was so patient with that special needs kid. My stomach dropped. "Wasn't it exhausting pretending to care about all that nerd stuff?" her friend asked. "So exhausting, but worth it. Damien thinks I'm all charitable now." They cackled. "Did you feel bad using him?" "Why? I paid him. It's not like he actually thought we were friends or something." That's when I knew I had to be the one to make her realize how much she hurt me, by any means necessary. I spent that whole weekend sitting at my computer, replaying every single moment from our week together. My brain works different because of the autism, so I can remember stuff exactly how it happened. The $100 she gave me sat on my desk while I typed in the gym manager's password I'd memorized months ago. Gold's Gym had security cameras everywhere, and their system saved footage for 30 days. I downloaded every single hour we were there together, all 7 days worth. My sister Elena came home from college for winter break on Sunday and found me still at my computer, surrounded by empty water bottles and nothing else. She made me eat a sandwich and tell her what happened. I showed her the footage of Ashley laughing with her friends about the special needs kid. Elena's face got really mad. She pointed at the Sony headphones on my desk and told me those expensive ones have recording features when they're connected to phones. My hands were shaking as I opened the app and found 7 hours of crystal clear audio from our gym week. Every conversation, every laugh, every time she pretended to care about my interests was right there. Monday morning came too fast, and I sat in the cafeteria watching Ashley across the room with her hand on Damien's arm. She was wearing his Letterman jacket now and kept touching his muscles while he talked. My usual table with the Pokemon card players waved me over and asked where I'd been all last week. I showed them the headphones and told them I got played by Ashley for $100. They all got quiet because every one of us had been used by popular kids before in different ways. That night, I stayed up transcribing every single conversation from the recordings. My pattern recognition picking up stuff I missed before. Ashley had mentioned her college essays 17 different times during our week, and her voice always got scared when she talked about them. She'd also said her parents would literally kill her if she didn't get into Yale or Harvard or one of those schools. She kept mentioning January 15th as her big deadline for everything. Elena came into my room and helped me organize all the evidence into folders on my computer. We had one called Sweet Manipulation, with all the times she pretended to like me, another called Cruel Reality with her making fun of me, and Legal Liability with stuff that might actually get her in trouble. The gym footage from after I left on Friday was the worst part. Ashley was telling Damien I actually thought we were friends, and they both laughed so hard. She said how could someone that smart not realize he was being used. Tuesday at school, I walked past Ashley's locker and heard her telling her friends about her Yale interview coming up next week. She was bragging that Damien's dad was writing her a recommendation letter, or at least signing one that Damien wrote. I turned on my phone's voice recorder in my pocket and caught the whole thing for my collection. The anger was building up inside me, but I knew I had to be smart about this, not just emotional. 3 days later, I was on Discord playing games when Lily from Valley High mentioned their quiz bowl team needed a fourth person. She said they needed someone who actually knew stuff and could help them win districts. I volunteered right away because I remembered Ashley mentioning she was Westfield's team captain during our gym week. She'd been really worried about keeping that position for her college applications. I started studying quiz bowl practice questions with the same focus I use for memorizing video game strategies. My autism makes me really good at remembering random facts and connecting information other people don't see patterns in. Within a week, I knew more trivia than Ashley had learned in her 3 years on the team. Lily's team did practice rounds with me and kept asking where I'd been hiding all this time. The district quiz bowl competition got announced for the middle of January, right before Ashley's college deadline. She found me in the hallway the next day and actually looked at me for the first time since she'd started dating Damien. She said it was weird that I joined Valley's team since I don't even go to that school. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her that ethics don't seem to matter much around here anyway. She blinked a few times, looking confused, and then just walked away without saying anything else. That night, I sat in my room thinking about everything I was planning to do. Elena knocked on my door carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate with marshmallows. She sat on my bed and asked if I was really sure about all this. I told her that Ashley humiliated me and made me think someone finally saw me as more than just the weird kid. Elena put her arm around me and said I was already more than that to the people who actually mattered. But those words kept bouncing around my head later that night when I couldn't sleep and started scrolling through Instagram on my phone. Ashley's profile popped up in my suggested follows, and I clicked on it without thinking. Her whole feed was full of gym photos from the past week with captions about helping others and giving back to the community. What a wild start. Ashley just used this sweet guy for $100 to get noticed by some gym bro, and he actually recorded everything with those fancy headphones she gave him. There was a video of me struggling with the bench press titled, "Everyone deserves a chance to grow," with prayer hands emojis. Another showed me trying to do squats with the caption, "Patience and kindness go so far," and a bunch of heart emojis. The worst one was the photo of me flat on my back after falling off the pull-up bar with "Every journey starts somewhere. Inspiration, never give up, charity work" written underneath. The comments made my stomach hurt. People calling me brave and special and saying how amazing Ashley was for helping someone like me. I started taking screenshots of everything and saving them to a folder on my desktop labeled Evidence. By morning, I had 47 files including all her posts and stories from that week. Ms. Rodriguez called me into her office the next Monday for our regular monthly meeting about my support plan. She looked at me funny when I sat down and asked if everything was okay at home. I told her things were fine and that I'd been making friends at the gym, which was technically true. She said I seemed different somehow, like I was more focused, but also angrier than usual. I just shrugged and said maybe it was stress from college applications coming up. She smiled and told me it was good to see me putting myself out there and to channel whatever I was feeling into something positive. I nodded and left as fast as I could without being rude. Later that week, I was in the computer lab working on code when I heard noise from the basketball court outside. Damien had started bringing Ashley to practice, and she was sitting in the bleachers wearing his jersey like some kind of trophy. The other players kept looking at her and making comments I couldn't hear through the window. Jerome from my coding class came over and stood next to me watching them too. He said Ashley was really something else, and I just agreed that yeah, she definitely was something. We watched her jump up and cheer every time Damien made a shot like she'd been his girlfriend forever instead of just 2 weeks. The next day after school, I was heading to my locker when someone called my name from behind. Ashley's best friend Chloe was standing there looking nervous and checking to make sure nobody was watching us. She said she knew what Ashley did to me and that she was sorry. I tried to walk away, but she grabbed my sleeve and said Ashley did this every year for her college essays. Last year, she volunteered with a girl who had cancer until she got enough material for her applications, then never talked to her again. This year, I was the target. Chloe pulled out a flash drive from her pocket and pressed it into my hand, saying it was proof and that she was done covering for Ashley's awful behavior. She walked away before I could ask any questions. I practically ran home and locked myself in my room to see what was on the drive. There were dozens of screenshots from Ashley's private group chat with her friends going back months. Messages where she called me her charity case and practice for her special education major. One said working with me would look amazing on her Common App essay about overcoming challenges. Another one from right after the gym week said the best part was that I probably thought it was the highlight of my pathetic life. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the mouse to keep scrolling. There were photos of me at school that I didn't know she'd taken with mean captions about my clothes and weight. Voice memos of her and her friends friends laughing about how I believed she actually wanted to be friends. Elena found me an hour later surrounded by printed screenshots and crying harder than I had since middle school. I kept saying I really thought someone finally saw me as a real person for once. She sat on my bed and held me while I completely fell apart, telling her about every single message and photo. She rubbed my back and promised we were going to make Ashley pay for this, but we'd do it the right way with evidence and documentation. She said Ashley picked the wrong family to mess with because we knew how to fight smart. A few days later, on December 20th, I met up with Lily's academic decathlon team at the library for practice. They were all really nice and actually listened when I explained my strategies for resource management in online games. Their captain said it was basically the same as economic theory and that I'd destroy the economics round at competition. They asked me real questions about my interests and didn't look bored when I answered. It felt like what I thought hanging out with Ashley would be, except these people actually meant it. The next week at school, Principal Hoffman made an announcement about college recommendation letters being due by January 1st. I watched Ashley's face drop a little when she realized she still needed one more teacher. She went up to Mr. Patterson after AP History, but he said he couldn't write one since he needed to know students for a full semester first. I heard her asking 3 other teachers that day, and they all said similar things. Her perfect plan was starting to crack. Then 2 days before Christmas break, Ashley posted a TikTok that made everything worse. It was a whole video about her volunteer work, helping special needs students discover fitness, with footage from the gym that week, including me falling and struggling with weights. She never asked if she could film me or post it online. The video got 50,000 views in 2 days, with people calling her an angel and saying she should win awards for her patience. Half the comments praised her, but the other half called her out for exploiting someone for content. I saved everything, including the metadata showing exactly when it was filmed. Christmas break finally came, and I spent most of it in my room with my evidence wall growing bigger every day. Elena brought me sandwiches and soup, trying to get me to take breaks, but I couldn't stop planning. She stood in my doorway one night and said I was becoming just like Ashley by calculating every move and obsessing over revenge. I looked at my wall covered in screenshots and timelines and told her no, because I was becoming better at her game than she ever was. December 27th came, and Lily texted me her address for quiz practice. I drove to her house in the suburbs, where her mom opened the door and immediately asked about my food sensitivities before leading me to their dining room table covered in index cards and practice buzzers. Lily's dad shook my hand firmly, while her mom brought out rice crackers and fruit she'd prepared specially for me. The whole team was there, and Lily introduced me as their secret weapon, which made everyone nod seriously, like I was some kind of quiz mercenary they'd hired. We practiced for 3 hours straight, and I answered 70% of the science and math questions before anyone else could even hit their buzzer. Between rounds, I set up a fake Instagram account on my phone using a random email generator and started following Ashley's account, where she'd posted 12 stories that day alone about her college prep journey. Her latest post showed her in a Yale sweatshirt she'd bought online, talking about her interview outfit while standing in front of a bookshelf she'd clearly arranged just for the photo. I screenshotted everything, including the post, where she used photos of me at the gym without my permission to talk about her volunteer work with special needs students. She'd written a whole essay caption about how working with me taught her patience and compassion, which had over 300 likes from people commenting what an angel she was. The next post was about her leadership experience running fundraisers, even though I knew she'd never organized anything except parties at Damien's house. Every single post became another file in my evidence folder, which now had over 200 screenshots organized by date and category. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification, and I nearly dropped it when I saw Damien had messaged me directly. His message said Ashley felt bad about how things ended, and maybe I could write her a recommendation letter for her volunteer work since she'd helped me so much. The nerve of it made my hands shake as I typed back that I'd think about it, while immediately screenshotting the entire conversation and adding it to my folder labeled Direct Requests for False Documentation. New Year's Eve, I climbed onto our roof through my bedroom window and watched fireworks explode over the neighborhood, while my Discord notifications went crazy with friends from different time zones celebrating together in voice chat. They knew me as just Daniel, who was funny and good at games and helped them with homework sometimes, not as anyone's charity case or inspiration porn. Down below, I could hear neighbors partying and music from 3 different houses mixing together in the cold air. My phone lit up with a Snapchat notification from Ashley showing her and Damien kissing at midnight at some party with the caption, "Starting the new year with my king," and I screenshotted that too because it showed the date and time clearly. School started again January 2nd, and Ashley was in full panic mode about college applications, practically running through the hallways with printed essays and recommendation letters. She'd started a GoFundMe called Gym Equipment for Special Needs Students, using 3 photos of me from the gym, including one where I'd fallen and she was helping me up. The fundraiser description talked about her experience working with autism and how she wanted to give back to the special needs community by purchasing adaptive gym equipment for our school. It raised $500 in 3 days from parents and teachers who shared it on Facebook, talking about what a thoughtful girl she was. I documented every donation, every share, every comment, and most importantly, the fact that no equipment was ever ordered or purchased according to the school's public budget records I found online. Chloe coming through with that flash drive is incredible. The truth about Ashley doing this every year for college essays just made my jaw drop. Miss Rodriguez called me to her office on January 4th and closed the door carefully before pulling up Ashley's TikTok on her computer, where the gym video videos had gotten over 50,000 views. She asked if I'd consented to being filmed, and I opened my evidence folder on my phone to show her everything I'd collected, including the contracts Ashley never had me sign, and the way she'd edited the videos to make me look worse than I was. Her face went white as she scrolled through screenshot after screenshot, and finally she said, "This was serious exploitation, and we needed to involve administration immediately." I begged her to wait until after Quiz Bowl because I needed to stay focused, and she agreed but made copies of everything for her own records. That same week, Ashley started advertising tutoring services on the school Facebook page, charging $50 an hour for Ivy League application coaching, even though Lily's friend had told me Ashley got rejected from Yale's early admission program in December. She was literally selling a dream she hadn't achieved, using my story as proof she understood how to write compelling essays about helping others. I created another fake account to join the tutoring group where she was posting templates and advice that she'd clearly copied from free websites while charging desperate juniors for information they could have Googled themselves. January 8th, I sat alone in the cafeteria pretending to read while watching Ashley hold court at her usual table, surrounded by girls taking notes on everything she said about college applications. She was wearing the Sony headphones around her neck like a fashion accessory, even though she'd taken them back from me the day after Damien asked her out, claiming she'd only lent them to me. What she didn't know was that those headphones had a feature that auto-uploaded recordings to the cloud account that was still logged into my email from when I'd set them up for her that first day at the gym. Every conversation she'd had while wearing them for the past month was saved in my Google Drive, including one where she laughed about how easy it was to manipulate me. Elena flew back to school, but first she video called me with her pre-law roommate who reviewed my evidence folder for an hour before explaining that exploiting someone with a disability for personal gain could qualify as a hate crime enhancement in New Jersey. The word vulnerable hit different when she said it in legal terms because I'd never thought of myself that way, but apparently the law saw me as someone who needed protection from people like Ashley. Her roommate helped me organize everything into categories that would make sense to administrators and potentially lawyers if it came to that. Later that same day, Jerome from the basketball team pulled me aside after chemistry class and told me Damien had been acting weird lately, like he was stressed about something. Apparently Ashley had him doing all her homework and writing her essays, and she definitely had something on him because Damien looked scared whenever she texted him during practice. I added this to my notes because it meant Ashley wasn't just exploiting me, but had moved on to controlling other people too, which showed a pattern of behavior that would matter later. 3 days before quiz, Elena dragged me to Target to find clothes that would actually fit. She pulled shirt after shirt off the racks while I stood there holding her purse and trying not to look uncomfortable. We found a navy button-down that didn't make me look like I was wearing a tent and khakis that actually stayed up without a belt digging into my stomach. Elena held it up against me and nodded with satisfaction. "You're going to look so different," she said. That night, my Discord friends figured out something was happening when I mentioned the competition. They started sending strategy guides and quiz questions in the group chat, and Lily kept texting me encouragement messages with way too many emojis. I stayed up until 2 a.m. on January 14th, scrolling through Ashley's Instagram, where she'd posted about defending her quiz title with a bunch of crown emojis. Her stories showed her study group at Starbucks, but her eyes looked tired in every photo. The next morning, I got to school at 7 a.m. wearing the new clothes Elena picked out. Ashley was already in the auditorium with her team, dark circles under her eyes from staying up all night working on her college applications. When she saw me walk in, wearing Valley High's green and gold quiz uniform, her coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. She whispered something to her teammate and kept staring at me like she couldn't process what she was seeing. The news anchor who was moderating walked over to me with a cameraman and started asking about my preparation while the camera rolled. Ashley watched from across the room, her hands shaking slightly as she checked her phone every 30 seconds. The first round started with pop culture questions, and I buzzed in before anyone else could even process the questions. Years of Discord conversations about anime, memes, and random internet culture meant I knew every answer instantly. Ashley missed a question about TikTok trends because she kept looking at her phone, and when I correctly identified Japanese cherry blossom as a Bath & Body Works scent, she actually dropped her buzzer. During the break, Damien walked over and patted me on the shoulder with genuine excitement about how well I was doing. Ashley immediately grabbed his arm, trying to pull him away, but he shrugged her off and kept talking to me about the questions. Round 2 was economics, and I treated every question like a resource management problem from Clash of Clans or Civilization. The moderator kept nodding impressed as I explained supply and demand using examples from gaming economies. Ashley's team was falling further behind, and she kept checking her phone with increasing panic as the deadline got closer. Between rounds, the news anchor interviewed me on camera, and I mentioned having a really good coach who taught me to push beyond my limits. Ashley's face lit up for a second, thinking I meant her, until she saw me looking directly at Elena in the audience. The final round was current events, supposedly Ashley's strongest subject, but she was completely rattled by this point. When a question came up about exploitation of vulnerable populations, I buzzed in immediately and gave the textbook definition while staring straight at her. Valley High took the lead for the first time in 3 years, and Ashley's phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications about her application deadline now just 45 minutes away. The moderator called for a 10-minute break, and Ashley basically sprinted off the stage with her phone already pressed to her ear. I followed her toward the bathrooms because I needed to go anyway, but then I heard her voice cracking through the door. She was sobbing to her mom about how we were losing badly and begging to stay until the end. Her mom Mom's screaming was so loud, I could hear every word about ruined futures and wasted opportunities. The bathroom door slammed open, and Ashley rushed past me with her laptop bag, her face all red and wet. When the lightning round started, her captain's chair sat empty, while the rest of her team looked around confused. The moderator kept reading questions, and I just kept buzzing in, my brain locked into that weird focus mode where everything else disappears. Science question, buzz, answer. History question, buzz, answer. Current events, buzz, answer. Ashley's team started falling apart without her calling the shots and dividing up categories. Through the auditorium windows, I could see her in the hallway, sitting on the floor with her laptop balanced on her knees, typing frantically while checking her phone every few seconds. Valley High's score kept climbing past 200, then 300, then 400 points ahead. The cameras were rolling for the local news segment, and they kept panning to Ashley's empty chair. At exactly 12:01 p.m., Ashley burst back through the doors, her makeup completely ruined with black streaks down her cheeks. Her laptop was dark, and she was shaking as she stumbled back to her seat. The final buzzer went off, and the moderator announced Valley High's victory by 200 points, our first win against Westfield in 3 years. He asked both team captains to come shake hands at center stage, and Ashley had to walk past all the cameras to reach me. Her hand was cold and limp when she whispered congratulations, but her eyes were completely dead. The news anchor rushed over with her microphone and camera guy, gushing about what an incredible comeback this was. She asked what inspired me to join Quiz Bowl, and I looked straight into the camera and said, "Someone once told me I was too different to succeed in normal activities. I wanted to prove that different doesn't mean less capable." The reporter ate it up, asking follow-up questions about autism awareness, while Ashley stood frozen behind us. After the cameras moved away to interview other team members, Ashley grabbed my arm and pulled me into a corner. She accused me of doing this on purpose, of ruining her life. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot I'd saved of her group chat, where she'd written that I probably thought this was the highlight of my pathetic life. I told her she ruined her own life, and I just didn't save her from herself. She stared at the screen like she couldn't believe I'd kept it, then turned and walked away without another word. By January 16th, the local news segment had been shared thousands of times on Facebook and Twitter with headlines about an autistic student destroying the competition. My Discord server went crazy with congratulations, and Lily texted that we made a great team and she was proud of me. For once, the attention felt real, not like the fake nice that people usually did around me. Victory tastes so sweet right now. Michael just destroyed Ashley's team by 200 points, while she literally melted down trying to submit her college application. The way he used her own two different words against her on camera was perfect revenge. Ashley didn't show up to school for 3 days straight, and rumors started flying that she'd missed every single regular decision deadline for college. Damien was eating lunch with Jerome and the basketball team instead of at Ashley's usual table. People kept coming up to me in the hallways to talk about the competition, and suddenly I wasn't invisible anymore. On the 4th day, Principal Hoffman called me to his office with Ms. Rodriguez already sitting there. He said they'd received concerning reports about a GoFundMe fraud and unauthorized use of a student's image for college applications. He asked if I knew anything about it, and I slid my evidence folder across his desk, every screenshot and recording organized by date. Ms. Rodriguez flipped through the pages while Principal Hoffman's face got more and more serious. Elena picked me up after school and took me to my favorite burger place to celebrate. She said I could stop now since I'd already won, but I showed her the email from Yale requesting a character reference about Ashley Martinez. They were investigating inconsistencies in her application and wanted my statement as the student she claimed to mentor. The game wasn't over yet because colleges take this stuff seriously. On January 20th, Chloe from Ashley's friend group posted all the screenshots on Instagram with a long caption about staying quiet too long. She tagged the school and 3 local news stations, writing that Ashley had exploited a student with autism for her college applications with proof attached. Within 6 hours, it had over 10,000 likes and hundreds of comments from students confirming they'd seen Ashley treating me differently after Damien asked her out. The next few weeks were crazy with reporters calling and the school doing damage control meetings every day. By February, the whole thing had died down and Ashley was finishing her senior year online while I went back to my normal routine of Pokemon cards at lunch and Discord raids after school. When prom season started in March, Lily texted asking if I wanted to go with her group as friends with no weird stuff, just bad dancing and overpriced chicken. I said yes, because it felt good to trust someone's words again without looking for hidden meanings. 2 days later at the grocery store, I was buying energy drinks when Ashley's mom appeared next to me looking tired and old. She said my name quietly and told me she'd failed both Ashley and me before walking away before I could respond. The whole victory thing felt empty, seeing how broken she looked. Elena came home the weekend before prom to help me get ready, fixing my tie while telling me I looked handsome and actually happy for real this time. She was right, because the anger had finally gone away and been replaced by something lighter that let me breathe easier. At prom, Damien showed up with a date from Valley High and came over to fist bump me like we were old friends now. We'd somehow become actual friends from the mess of Ashley's games, which was weird, but also kind of nice. The senior awards ceremony in May had a new category called the Advocacy Award, and principal called my name for turning personal adversity into positive change for our community. The whole auditorium stood up clapping while I stimmed on stage, flapping my hands the way I do when I'm overwhelmed, and nobody laughed or looked away. On April 1st, I got an email from Ashley saying she'd been accepted to community college with therapy-assisted education, and that I'd saved her from herself because getting into Yale on lies would have destroyed her eventually. naturally. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either, just left it sitting in my inbox like a weird bookmark to everything that happened. My Discord server threw me a virtual graduation party with friends from 6 different time zones logging on to tell me I was their hero for standing up to a bully. I corrected them that I'd stood up for myself, which was different and more important. When acceptance letters came, I picked the gaming design program 3 hours from home, but close enough for Elena to visit on weekends. Lily was going to the same state, but different campus, and promised we'd still hang out because real friends do that. And the phrase real friends didn't hurt anymore when I heard it. The school held a final assembly about consent and exploitation and protecting vulnerable students, where they showed parts of my news interview, while Ashley's empty chair in the senior section sat there like a ghost. Graduation day came fast, and principal personally handed me my diploma, while whispering that I'd changed the school and thanking me for it. Walking across that stage, I saw my parents crying in the audience, and Elena cheering, and my whole Pokemon card group standing up applauding like I'd just won the championship tournament. That night at the graduation party in Jake's backyard, kids who'd never talked to me before came up asking about my college plans and what I was majoring in. Nobody mentioned Ashley or the whole scandal thing, just normal conversations about dorms and meal plans and whether I was nervous about leaving home. I stood by the pool holding a red Solo cup of Sprite while 3 guys from my calculus class asked if I'd picked computer science or engineering. The kid who used to call me Robot Brain in freshman year actually fist bumped me and said he heard I got into a really good school. A week later, the doorbell rang and there was a package on the porch with no return address. Inside were the Sony headphones, cleaned up with new ear cushions, and a folded note in Ashley's handwriting that said, "These belong to you. They always did. Thank you for teaching me to really see people. And I actually kept them this time instead of throwing them away. Summer came and I got hired at GameStop teaching little kids strategy for Pokemon and Minecraft during their summer camp program. Parents started requesting me specifically after word got around about the advocacy stuff I'd done at school. One mom pulled me aside and said her son was autistic too, and that I was the first instructor who really understood how to explain things to him. Before leaving for college, I drove past Gold's Gym one last time and decided to go in. The same pull-up bar was still there where I'd fallen that first day with Ashley. I grabbed it, pulled myself up once, twice, 3 times before my arms gave out. The manager walked by and recognized me, saying, "Hey, you're that trivia champion from the news," which felt way better than being the victim kid. Elena drove me to college in August with the car packed full of my stuff, including my Pokemon card binders and the Sony headphones. While we unpacked Boxer Sis in my dorm room, she said the best revenge wasn't destroying Ashley, but becoming someone who didn't need her approval anymore. My roommate showed up with noise-canceling headphones around his neck and immediately started setting up blackout curtains and a white noise machine. He explained the housing office paired us on purpose since we were both on the spectrum and would understand each other's needs. Within an hour, we were already mapping out the optimal desk arrangement for minimal sensory overload. The college gaming club met Tuesday nights in the student center, actual people sitting around actual tables instead of just Discord avatars on a screen. When I introduced myself, nobody knew about the Ashley thing or anything from high school. I was just the guy who was crazy good at resource management. My phone buzzed with a text from Damien showing him in his college basketball uniform with a message saying, "Real strength wasn't about muscles, but about standing up for yourself." Jerome had added a photo of him running the Pokemon Club at State, captioning it, "You taught us well, sensei," with a laughing emoji. During freshman orientation week, they had us share something we'd overcome in small groups. I talked about learning to trust people again after being betrayed without getting into specifics. 3 other students came up to me afterward, saying they'd been through similar stuff, and we ended up forming a weekly coffee meetup to support each other. 6 weeks into the semester, I video called Elena from my dorm room while my roommate organized his manga collection, and 2 girls from gaming club argued about the best Clash base layouts. Elena smiled through the screen and said, "I looked actually happy for the first time in forever." The rage that used to burn in my chest whenever I thought about Ashley was gone, replaced by something better, real friends who saw me exactly as I was and chose to hang around anyway. Ashley had taught me how to spot fake friendship, which made the real thing that much sweeter when I found it. Maybe someday I'd thank her for that lesson, but not today. Today I had a raid to plan with my guild and a Pokemon tournament to prepare for, and a life that was finally, completely mine. Wow, that was such an awesome ride. Seriously, thanks for sharing all those moments with me. Can't wait for the next adventure. Like the video, it helps more than you think.